Adam here, and this is Horror Down Under, where I take a look at Australian horror films. And today's horror film is Road Games. I wouldn't exactly call this a horror film, it's more a suspense thriller. It's probably the correct way to categorise this film. But there are some horror elements to it. Released in 1981 and directed by Richard Franklin. And stars Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis. And Road Games tells the story of Pat Quid, an American truck driver working in Australia. And he stumbles upon what he thinks may be a murder. So, during his haul, he's been tailing a blue van that he thinks may have the murderer, who's been killing, burying young women. Along the way, he picks up Hitch, a young lady who needs a ride. And Hitch is a mysterious character in that she doesn't reveal too much about herself. So Hitch and Quid try to track down the murderer, which along the way they meet some, kind of quirky characters, I guess you could say. I will say this, it is kind of a very slow burn movie. It takes a while to pick up, but Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis are very good in their roles. But unfortunately, apparently there was a bit of resentment towards Jamie Lee Curtis. Originally, an Australian actress was cast in the role of Hitch, and apparently there was a bit of resentment from the crew. And they apparently would say things like, well, how does it feel to take some work away from an Australian actress? It's a bit harsh. I mean, it's really a marketing decision. I kind of understand it because, well, Jamie Lee Curtis was, and still is, a pretty big name at the time. Another thing about this movie, most of the violence is not really on screen. Most of it's implied. You don't really see much, which isn't always a bad thing. Apparently Richard Franklin was a fan of Alfred Hitchcock, which you can definitely tell in this movie. As for how well it did at the box office here, as usual, full disclosure, reading from Wikipedia, Road Games was only a modest box office success in Australia. Upon its June 1981 release, it was released theatrical in the United States in November 1981 and did not perform as well as originally expected, which Franklin blamed on its marketing as a slasher film. However, like I said before, it did lead to Franklin landing the job of directing Psycho 2 in 1983. It is slowly paced, like I said before, but it does keep you watching because you want to see how things pan out. There is a 360 shot in pretty much a kind of a cafe bar type thing, which is really good. It's all in one take and goes around the room where all the people are moving, and it's just done so well. That's a clever shot. If you do watch this, don't go in expecting a full-on type of slasher movie. It's not about that. It's more about suspense and mystery than anything else. I also have to acknowledge Jason from Horrific Nightmares, JM, has done a review to this. I planned on doing it today, and then he did it, pretty much the day before. But you know what? I'll leave a link to his review so you can watch that as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting two different points of view on a movie. Okay, that's going to do it for this installment of Horror Down Under. I'm Adam, and I'll see you again soon.